This is Pastor Dave Vetter speaking. We are entering an unprecedented time in the history of our nation and our church. A pandemic known as the coronavirus has already begun to infiltrate our area. It is a dangerous and deadly virus, and so it's something that we need to take seriously. With that in mind, our church leadership has decided to cancel all services and activities until Sunday, April 5th. In the meantime, I am going to be preparing a message for you every Sunday. It will be recorded and made available to watch on the church's website and Facebook page at a delayed time. Even if we aren't able to meet for the time being, we can still stay in contact with one another through our phones and other forms of communication. Now, there are several things that I want to communicate to you. I want to encourage you to choose faith over fear. As I said this morning in the message that I delivered, we all need to remember that God has not given us a spirit of fear. Instead, He has given us a spirit of power and love and self-control. I want to encourage all of us to look for ways to strengthen our personal relationship with God and our faith in Him during this crisis. After all, God has assured us that when we put our trust in Him, we do not have to be afraid. I also want to encourage us to look for opportunities to express our faith in God to people around us who may be overwhelmed by fear. And I believe that we can all do that if we make sure that we strengthen our own personal faith in God and we choose faith over fear. Second, I want to encourage us to choose love over selfishness. We all need to remember that nothing can ever separate us from God's love, and that includes the coronavirus. I want to encourage all of us to look for evidences of God's love in our lives every single day during this time. Because after all, God's mercies are still new every single morning. His faithfulness is still great. I also want to encourage us to look for ways to share God's love with other people during this crisis. After all, God has commanded us to love our neighbors as ourselves. So let's not just look for ways to take care of ourselves during this crisis. Let's also look for ways to minister to our neighbors. Like I said this morning, that may involve taking some risks. However, I want to add something at this point in time that I didn't say this morning. And that is that we should not take any unnecessary risks. After all, one way that we can love other people is to take precautions and to protect the weakest and the most vulnerable among us. So I want to encourage us to only take the risks that God leads us to take. Finally, I want to encourage us to choose prayer over self-sufficiency. After all, we're never going to make it through this crisis on our own. We don't have the strength. But God can strengthen us. We need His help. Certainly, we need to pray for our church family during this time. We need to pray that God will protect us and the people we love. And we can count on that. After all, God is our refuge and our strength. He is a present help in trouble. We also need to pray for our community, our nation, and our world. We need to pray that God will intervene and bring an end to this crisis as quickly as possible. And God can do it. After all, God is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine. Most of all, we need to pray that God will be glorified through this crisis, through everything that happens. We need to pray that the hearts of the people in our community and our nation and our world will be turned toward God. Remember that I love you all, and I will be praying for you during this time. And so I say to all of you, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Amen.